Alright guys, so we are here checking out the new official April 1st Yu-Gi-Oh rules. So I'm sure a lot of you guys already have seen the video where we talk about the new ban list for April 1st for the OCG, but they're also applying a new rule that will be applied to the TCG. That specific rule is going to be with the synchros, exceeds, and fusions not requiring the link zones. But there's another new rule that completely changes up how we play the game, and it's important that you watch this video till the end. Also, a 10-minute ad reel, let's go. No, seriously, there's a lot of new information here that is kind of trying to unify the game, essentially, because there's a lot of different OCG rulings and TCG rulings that will kind of be applied over here. So let's go ahead and get started. So regarding the activation of monster effects for monsters returned to the deck or the extra deck face down, unless it is specifically referenced in the text, monsters that are returned to the deck and the extra deck face down cannot activate their effects. This includes mandatory effects, which is absolutely crazy for a lot of stuff, and actually opens up the doors to a lot more plays that can and cannot actually happen. Here's an example, and in blue is the way that we currently rule it, but on April 1st this will change for the OCG. However, I want to mention this section is not 100% confirmed. I want to say it should be though, because it doesn't make sense to add the new OCG ruling for the synchros, exceeds, and fusions, but again, it's just kind of all over the place right now. This game is getting way too complex. But anyways, old way of the effect resolving. If Elemental Hero Absolute Zero is returned to the extra deck by compulsory evacuation device, its effect to destroy all monsters your opponent controls will activate. But the new ruling is if Elemental Absolute Zero is returned to the extra deck by compulsory evacuation effect device, its effect to destroy all monsters your opponent controls will not activate, which is really insane. Now, what I also think is actually more game-breaking with this new ruling of if the monster is returned to the extra deck or deck for another effect that's like, I guess, making it so it would return. What about Contact Fusion? Does Contact Fusion still like work? There's a lot of questions here that I think people will have. If you guys know some of these newer rulings, let me know. Like, you know, there's obviously Reborn Tengu. And I should probably go over the Elemental Ab-Zero's full effect. It's pretty simple though, Elemental. Let me go ahead and move these cards out of the way. But like, this card was like, it's a super popular card in Heroes, and Heroes still top in OCG, but its text says if this card leaves the field, and the thing is that it's not, I guess, leaving the field anymore. It just, technically it is, but it's not able to resolve the effect. So this is definitely, again, like I mentioned before, going to completely change up the game. And it's not just for Absolute Zero. It's for a lot of cards that, again, would be resolving in other areas. And since I'm also doing this on a live stream, if you guys want to talk about what you guys think about this ruling, you guys can let me know and I'll kind of relay it over. But anyways, some of these rules, again, are already applied to the TCG, but it's again trying to unify the game. But this one is really strange for me personally, because I always felt like if you did interdimensional transport, I guess that's a different card. But I know that like a lot of people will be upset or not upset by these new rulings. Some people will be happy, but you guys can let me know how you feel about that. Anyways, there's more new rules over here. So regarding the activation of card effects that move away from their activation location before their effects activated. Okay, so this has to do kind of with chain blocking, but also it makes certain cards a little bit better and some cards worse. So it says in card text, cards refer to their effect activation requirement as well as their effect activation location. For example, if it is an effect that activates when the monster itself is normal summon, it activates on the field. If it is a trap card whose effect is activated if it is sent to the graveyard, it activates in the graveyard. If a card moves location from its activation location to a different location before its effect is activated, its effect cannot be activated, including mandatory effects. So they give an example over here. If you, the old way of resolving, Sangan is tributed to activate Crush Card Virus, and DD Crew is activated in Chain to banish the Sangan from the graveyard. Sangan activates its effect after this chain is done resolving. In this case, Sangan is treated as activating its effect in the graveyard. But the new way of resolving, if Sangan is tributed to activate Crush Card Virus and DD Crow is activated in a chain to banish the Sangan from the graveyard because the tributing would be the cost. Anyways, Sangan does not activate its effect after the chain is done resolving. So there's going to be a lot of cards that this can actually affect. And again, I don't know if we're going to be applying all of these rules or if they're going to change them in the TCG. Again, this is just information that I'm trying to relay to you guys because I think it's very important to know some of these rulings. All right, next up though, regarding the normal or special summon of a monster in relations to card effects that mention during the turn you activate this card / effect. This is actually pretty big for a lot of things that would negate stuff. Anyways, it says some cards will have text such as during the turn you activate this effect, you cannot special summon monsters except for, let's say, dragon monsters, okay? Or during the turn you activate this card, you cannot summon monsters except with this card's effect, which have the activation requirements for whether or not you summon certain monsters during the turn. Cards with this text now will check whether or not the summoning of the monster described in the text was successful for their activation requirements. Here's our example over here. Example of old way of resolving, you cannot activate Rage with the Eyes of Blue. Let me actually pull up this card because we're talking about it so we can make a little bit more sense of the ruling. So here is the card over here. It is a quick play spell card that says banish this card and as many cards as possible from your hand, field, and graveyard face down. And if you do, special summon up to 3 copies of AzneyesWhitedragon from your deck. You cannot normal or special summon monsters the turn you activate this card except AzneyesWhitedragon. Okay, so going further with this now that we know the effect. You cannot activate Rage with the Eyes of Blues during the turn of the normal summon of your Maiden with the Eyes of Blue was negated by Solemn Judgment. So the new way of resolving is you can activate Rage with the Eyes of Blue during the turn the normal summon of your Maiden with the Eyes of Blue was negated by Solemn Judgment. This actually applies to other cards as well. Some cards might say you can't activate traps or spells or whatever for the rest of the turn. So if that got negated, you can still go for it because the new way of resolving, if that card got negated, you are still able to utilize those cards. With those effects. Yeah, I guess Pot of Duality could be, okay, that's a good example over there. If you guys want to think of other cards here, let's bring up some cards. This is a good SLAYDRA. Thank you, I appreciate it for letting me know other cards. So yeah, cards that would be more relevant, because let's be honest, who's playing Rampage with the Eyes of Blue? Okay, cards that would actually see some play. The Pot of Duality, right? If I could spell. Duality, right? You excavate and then you can't special summon a turn. During the turn you activate this card. That would be an excellent example. Summon limit. This one is actually pretty big, right? So if he negates your summon, that wouldn't count because it says neither player can summon more than 2 times per turn. Negated summons count toward this limit though, specifically, which is interesting. Negated cards / effects that would summon, like, I guess, Call of the Haunted, right? Don't count. But I guess with the new ruling, we'll have to wait and see if they say specifically, because it specifies on the card, but there are newer wordings on cards, so it'd be interesting to see where this goes. And if someone knows in the comment section below what happens with summon limit with the new way it's worded, because it says you can, but it does specifically say on the text, it might be a condition on that card. Anyways. Next up over here, regarding the special summon of monsters that mention they can only be special summoned once per turn. Certain cards have text you can only special summon blank once per turn, which means that you can only special summon cards with that name one time during this entire turn. Cards with this text now will now only count the summoning if the summoning of a monster with that name was successfully summoned, successful this turn. Obviously, it kind of goes back to the previous one over here. But anyways, example of the old way of resolving, if your high speed Chanbara over here, let me go ahead and again bring that up so you know exactly what the heck the full card text says. So it says that at the very bottom, the very last sentence, that you can only special summon high speed Chanbaras once per turn, but it's weird because it says in parentheses S. But that effect over there would be the one that we're kind of looking at. So it says that if it was negated by Solemn Judgment during this turn, you cannot try to synchro summon high-speed Chanbara or try to use any other type of card effects to special summon it for the rest of the turn. But it says, example of the new way of resolving. If your high-speed Chanbara was negated by Solemn Judgment, you can special summon, or you can secret summon a high-speed Chen bar, or try to use another type of card that affects to special summon it for the rest of the turn. Sorry, dying voice. Anyways, talking about the continuous trap cards that special summon themselves to the monster zone by their own effects. This has to do with a lot of the trap monsters, which would actually block your back row because they would still count over here. So basically, they name one of those cards. It's just a trap monster. It doesn't really matter as far as the rest of the effects, but anyways, it's still also treated as a trap card, but the old way of resolving, if you had 5 cards set in your spell and trap zone, and you activate one of them, which is the, let's just bring it up. Again, the effect doesn't matter, it's just that it is a trap monster over here. So you summon it, and it's still treated as a trap card. But the new way of resolving, if you have 5 cards set in your spell and trap zone, and you activate one of them, which is the trap monster, and you special summon to a monster zone, because of the embodiment of Apophis is now in a monster zone, the spell and trap zone it was before is now empty and available for use. Therefore, you can set another spell or trap. Even though it's still treated as a trap, there are a lot of interesting interactions that you can maybe utilize. So I think that is kind of cool. I think that's overall just a buff over here, but this is for, of course, again, at the moment, OCG confirmed only. But yeah, that's the new April 1st, 2020 new Yu-Gi-Oh rules for, again, I want to say it's going to be applying in the TCG, but there's no confirmation. Again, why would they get the new ruling? And then we also, I think like a week or two later, we also got confirmation that we're also getting the Synchro Fusion and Exceed no requiring the extra link arrows. So if you guys don't know about that, watch the video, or I guess you can just kind of understand by me saying it, but definitely watch that video. It's only like a couple minutes long, but this one a little bit longer because of course there were so many other things to go through. I know this game is very complicated. Let me know, guys, what you think of it. Do you guys like the new rules? Do you wish they didn't apply? What other broken things can actually apply to these newer things? But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you're new here, make sure you guys are subscribed and turn on that bell so you don't miss out. And again, if they make this rule for the TCG, I'll update you guys with that because I think that is pretty important to know your Yu-Gi-Oh rulings, because this game's complicated. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good one, and I'm out. Peace.